Hey guys, I am currently outside editing a podcast, just enjoying the weather. Got my coffee, have my sidekick. He's sniffing around, but he was just laying in the sun. And I'm really excited because I'm just in the space right now of editing this podcast, and it's perfect timing because this conversation is coming out right around SEL Day, which is March 3rd. And this conversation is with David Adams, the CEO of the Urban Assembly. And I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet because I would really invite you to tune into the conversation, because we're really talking about the impact of SEL development, why it's so important, and really the question of, should it exist or should it not? Like, there is no question about it. We all, regardless of who we are, want people to have these social and emotional developed skills. We want people to be able to manage their stress effectively, emotionally regulate, collaborate effectively, seek perspective from others, be great members of society, be kind to other people, regardless who you are, right? Or what backgrounds you have. You all want that for one another. And I think one of the things him and I really dive into in this conversation that is important to understand is these skills aren't new. What's new is the explicit teaching around it for so long. And if you look at society nowadays, when you're in careers and you're in relationships and you're just in society, even with our justice system, we have certain expectations and standards around how people should behave and act and operate. And we expect people to understand those things without explicitly teaching them those skill sets in order to do those things when they're integrated into the real world, building relationships, being in relationships, working in their careers. We've never explicitly taught it. And that's the only difference here. What we're learning, what we're leaning into is, if we're going to have these standards, if our world is going to hold people accountable for their actions in careers and relationships in our justice system, then what's our duty to make sure that we're explicitly teaching that so that they are well-developed skills? And him and I were really touching on the fact that three things really get to exist. And this is from a lens of how we build within education, right? Intentionality. We need to bring some intention to this, right? We need to make sure we're seeing it through a lens of how are we developing some of these social and emotional skills all the way through. How are we being intentional to explicitly make sure there's space and we're building things so that those skills are able to come through and there's teaching and direct instruction around it. Secondly, language. Secondly is language, making sure that we're actually using language, right? Instead of just doing things to do them, making sure that intentionality then translates to language. So, right, if you're talking about stress management or emotional regulation, being able to use those words, being able to actually start to put language to a process so that you're modeling and students are able to do that for themselves, because that's going to go very far in the long run as they're just growing in their lives and their careers and their relationships. And then lastly is practice, giving people the opportunity to practice, right? Giving them space, giving them intentional space with language to practice skills around social and emotional competence in order to develop and strengthen those muscles. It's like anything. It's like working out in a gym. It's like anything you do if you're learning a new language, right? You need the practice. You need the reps. It's the exact same thing. And so if we're going to hold people accountable to these social emotional standards in society around being good people, leading good lives, and those types of things, and being positive members of our world and society, then we need to make sure we're explicitly and having direct instruction and space for students and adults to really play with these muscles and build these muscles and strengthen them and develop them. And so that's a lot of what we're talking about. Nothing new here. We're bringing three things. We're bringing intentionality, we're bringing language, and we're bringing practice. And so at the end of the day, I think we're all on the same page of wanting that for folks. We all want our future leaders, our future people in our world just having those skill sets regardless of who you are. So make sure you tune in. David is an incredible leader. He does such a great job of breaking it down and simplifying things and making it relatable. So even if you're not in the education space, it's worth a listen, because social and emotional competence is the foundation of everything that we do. Everything that we do. Everything. How we interact with people, how we behave, how we operate, how we make decisions, how we build relationships, everything. Take care of our mental and physical health, all of it, right? So tune in, check him out, check their work out, and excited for you guys to hear the conversation and give us feedback.